The text from Sylvia came in at 8:07 a.m. without a greeting or even punctuation. You always manage well in the kitchen, Natalie. Dinner for Greg and Jenna must be perfect. Checklist is in the app. Sylvia is my mother-in-law. She's not the kind of woman who asks for help. She assigns tasks like a corporate executive assigning blame. Read the message twice, then slid my phone across the table toward Brendan, my husband. He read it, blinked like it was a weather report, and passed the phone back. She's just trying to make it special, he said. You know how she gets, and you do cook better than her. That last line was supposed to be reassuring. It was lazy and practiced, the kind of thing Brendan had said 100 times over the years. Default setting. Placate Natalie. Excuse Mom. Greg, Brendan's older brother, and his wife, Jenna, had just returned from a year abroad in Australia. Greg had taken some high-level IT contract in Sydney, and Sylvia had talked about it for 12 straight months like he'd discovered a planet. Now that they were back stateside and Jenna 6 months pregnant, Sylvia had announced a family dinner in their honor. Not by asking, just by assigning to me. Opened the app. Sure enough, there it was. Event Greg and Jenna. Welcome dinner host Natalie checklist. Brine turkey, minimum 12 pounds, fresh. Herbs only. Pumpkin pie, family recipe. No substitutions. Yukon Gold mashed potatoes, smooth, no garlic, homemade. Rolls, organic cider for Jenna. Table night before. Greg eats on gold. Rimmed porcelain and more. So much more. At 9:10 a.m. my doorbell rang. Sylvia. Without warning, coat already off. Holding a binder. I thought I'd stop by and help prep, she said, stepping into the kitchen like it belonged to her. Big dinner ahead. By help she meant auditing. She opened my pantry, sniffed my spices, picked up a bulb of garlic, and held it up like evidence. This isn't for the potatoes, is it? I usually add a pinch. No, Greg hates garlic and mashed potatoes. Always has. She didn't ask. She instructed. Then she pulled my pie recipe off the counter. Why are you using this version? I've made it before. Well, we don't want Jenna getting heartburn, do we? I bit my tongue so hard it ached. Sylvia was on a mission. She sat at the island, flipping through that binder like she was preparing for a congressional hearing, rattling off notes about plate placement and serving temperatures. That afternoon Jenna pulled. She told me not to lift a finger, she said in that soft, pleasant voice of hers. Said I need to rest and preserve the glow. But Natalie, she's been intense. Jenna is Greg's wife. She's quiet, graceful, and easy to like. Especially if you're Sylvia, who had apparently decided Jenna was the new standard for womanhood. She keeps staring at my belly, Jenna said, and asking me weird questions like whether I plan to breastfeed on a schedule and if I've read the same parenting books she used in the 80s. I wiped my hands on a dish towel and sighed. Yeah, that sounds about right. She also said, Jenna added hesitantly, that it's nice Greg married someone with classic femininity. Wasn't sure what that meant. It was meant not me. The next morning Sylvia returned at 7:45 a.m. No sense wasting time, she chirped, setting her bag down. We'll go over everything again. She started rearranging my fridge before I could even put on a bra. Where's the cider? She asked. On the second shelf. You got the organic one, right? Jenna's sensitive to additives. He nodded. Moved on to napkins. You didn't iron. I was going to do it this afternoon. She sighed. I'll show you. It's all in the wrist. I stared at her. By noon I was roasting vegetables and blanching green beans. Jenna sat, curled up on the couch in a soft cream sweater, sipping cider, hands resting lightly on her belly. She looked serene, angelic almost. Greg had shown up late, already talking about flight delays and how you can't get a decent burger south of the equator. He was charming tan. Mug. Sylvia was glowing like she'd given birth to him again. My boy's home, she beamed, and a baby on the way. The luckiest mother alive. Brendan stood next to her, smiling faintly. Prop in the background. Brought out appetizers. No one thanked me. Jenna was immediately offered a footstool and a blanket. Greg got the best seat at the table. Brendan wandered between the kitchen and the den like a misplaced groomsman. Walter, my father-in-law, sat in the corner reading the newspaper, silent as always. By 4 p.m. I'd done everything. Turkey basted and resting, rolls proofed, gravy reducing. Sylvia came into the kitchen again. Remember, she said, Greg eats on the gold trim. Hina, it's tradition. You've mentioned. Well, repetition helps, she said, with a pointed smile. 5:45 the table was set. I lit the candles. Jenna was glowing on the couch, Greg laughing loudly about scuba diving. Brendan was on his phone. No one asked how I was doing. I plated the turkey a perfect golden brown and garnished it with fresh herbs and cranberries. Sylvia appeared beside me like a stage manager. I'll walk with you, she said. This is the moment, the centerpiece. Got careful, she added, smiling. Greg deserves some elegance. I lifted the heavy platter and walked toward the dining room slowly, carefully. I passed the fireplace. Sylvia was suddenly beside me. She stepped backward, quick, calculated. Her heel clipped mine. I stumbled. The platter tilted. The turkey crashed to the floor. Porcelain shattered. Gravy exploded. Crossed the rug. The room froze. Someone else stifled a laugh. Jenna looked horrified. Sylvia looked down, then up at me and said loudly, clearly, I suppose not everyone is cut out for hosting. Brendan didn't move. Walter didn't look up. Jenna opened her mouth but said nothing. Greg laughed nervously. I stood there, heart racing, arms shaking, fingers stung from the hot platter. Then I untied my apron. Let it rub. I'm not a servant, I said. And I'm not part of your show. Sylvia blinked. Brendan finally rose from his Nat, don't make a scene. Laughed once flatly. The scene already happened. Ask your mother who choreographed it. And I walked out the front door. No coat, no apology, just clean air and silence. I didn't cry that way.
I thought I would. Instead, I took off the gravy-stained shirt, scrubbed my arms until the smell of turkey was gone, and sat in silence on my parents' couch, watching a muted late-night infomercial about pressure cookers. They didn't ask questions. My mom just placed a folded blanket beside me and said, guest rooms made up, bathrooms clean. Don't worry about a thing tonight. I didn't. I couldn't. My brain was locked in replay mode. The stumble, the crash, Sylvia's voice. I suppose not everyone is cut out for hosting. The way Brendan didn't even reach for me. The next morning I found my phone full of unread messages, mostly from Brendan. Where are you? Can we talk? It wasn't her fault, Nat. It just happened. Call me, please. He didn't ask if I was okay. He didn't say sorry. Just wanted to talk. Smooth things over. Clean up the optics. By mid-afternoon, he left a voicemail. His voice was soft, trying for sad. Hey, I talked to Mom. She swears it wasn't on purpose, just Bad timing. She said she stepped back and didn't realize you were behind her. She feels awful. I do too. I should have done something. Please come home. We can work through this. It would have worked once. It didn't now. On the second day, silence. On the third, a knock at my parents' front door. I opened it. Sylvia stood there holding a bouquet of cheap pink roses still wrapped in plastic. Behind her was Jenna, looking sheepish, in a coat 2 sizes too big. Natalie, Sylvia began. I wanted to apologize in person. I leaned against the door frame. That's new. She gave a thin smile. You're angry. I understand. I just want to make things right by showing up. Uninvited to another house, I said. You have a real talent for that. She flinched slightly, but pressed on. That night it was a mistake. I lost track of where I was standing. You've never lost track of a single detail in your life. I said you track which fork Jenna prefers for salad. I didn't mean to make you fall, she insisted. I just got caught up in the moment. Jenna cleared her throat. She's not telling the whole story. Sylvia turned sharply. Jenna held up a hand and stepped forward. She tried to make me replace you after you left. She handed me your apron and said, it's time someone stepped up. Like I was supposed to inherit the kitchen. Like it was a crown. I blinked. She said that. She walked me through how to package leftovers, where the trivet goes, which pie knife to use. It was weird, controlling. Greg found me crying in the hallway. Sylvia stiffened. I was overwhelmed. I was trying to hold things together. No, Jenna said quietly. You were trying to transfer control. She looked at me again. Greg was furious. He told Walter. They both confronted her. Greg said if she didn't apologize, they wouldn't come for Christmas. Walter said if she ever pulled something like that again, he'd go live with his sister in Arizona. And Brendan, I asked. Jenna hesitated. He stood there. He didn't say much, just looked uncomfortable. Classic. Sylvia looked smaller than usual. She gripped the flowers tightly. I didn't come to fight, she said. I came because I know I crossed a line. I've been trying to run this family like it's still 1998 and I broke something. No. I said you revealed something that you see me as disposable. That all these years I thought I was being paranoid. I wasn't. She looked up, eyes watery. I don't want to lose my family. I crossed my arms. You don't get to weaponize that. After years of emotional slow drip, poisoning. She blinked. You humiliated me, I continued, in my own home in front of your golden son. And then you expected me to come crawling back like nothing happened. But here's the thing, Sylvia. This was never about the turkey. I know, she said hoarsely. I know it was more than that. No, I said you don't. Because if you did, you'd stop talking and start listening. Jenna gently touched Sylvia's arm. Maybe we should go. But Sylvia didn't move. I'm not the villain you think I am, she whispered. I gave a sad smile. Maybe not to everyone, but to me you were. She held out the flowers. I didn't take them. Tell Greg I appreciate him speaking up, I said to Jenna. And tell Walter I hope he books that trip to Arizona. Sylvia swallowed hard. There must be something I can do. Yes, I said. You can leave me alone. She looked like she wanted to say something else, but Jenna gently turned her by the elbow. As they stepped off the porch, Sylvia turned back once more. I'm sorry. I didn't answer. I just closed the door slowly without slamming. Inside, the air smelled like coffee and cinnamon. My mother was folding laundry at the kitchen table. She looked up and asked gently, that the apology to her?
Something like that. She paused, then
Said, "You hungry?
"We've got those apple
Muffins you like?" I nodded, and for the first time in days I sat down and ate something warm that someone else had made, without judgment, without performance, without being reminded I wasn't anyone's favorite. Brendan showed up 2 days later. No warning, just the sound of tires crunching on my parents' driveway and a knock that felt heavier than the wood it landed on. I opened the
door.
He looked like he hadn't slept. Same hoodie he wore 3 days ago.
Hair
Slightly flattened on one side. He held nothing. No flowers, no overnight bag, no offering. Just his phone in one hand, face in the other.
"Can we talk?" he
Asked, voice low. I stepped aside.
He sat at the edge of the couch like a
Guest in his own life. I didn't offer him coffee. I didn't sit down. I didn't know she was going to do that, he said. I swear to you. I crossed my arms. But
when she did, you watched.
he looked up. I froze.
I didn't know what to say. You didn't have to say anything.
You could have stood, moved, looked at me like a human being instead of part of the
Decor.
Brendan rubbed his jaw.
You're right.
I failed you.
The word sat there.
Between us. Too late to be useful.
Too
honest to be dismissed. I want you to come home, he added. Please. To what?
He
blinked. What do you mean? To a house where your mother feels free to belittle me in my own kitchen?
To a man who lets
it happen? To a family where apologies only show up when public opinion turns? He opened his mouth, closed it, then said, "You're angry." I'm not just angry. I'm done. I'm done playing the good sport, the bigger person, the
peacemaker.
I'm not anyone's martyr. Brendan. He nodded slowly. Okay then. What now? I don't know, but I know what not now looks like. He looked at the floor for a long time. You're not making this easy. No, because it was already hard. I just finally stopped pretending. It wasn't. He left quietly this time. No, don't make a scene. No lecture, just the slow sound of retreat. The next week passed in fragments. I returned to work, setting up in my parents' sunroom with a borrowed monitor and noise-cancelling headphones. I let myself exist quietly, without scrutiny. Then one morning a letter came, handwritten, folded neatly. No return address from Sylvia. Natalie. I've spent the last week in a house that feels hollow. Jenna barely speaks to me. Greg is stiff. Walter is colder than I've ever seen him. Brendan floats. No one trusts me anymore. You were the first to call me out, but you won't be last. I'm not writing to ask for forgiveness I know I haven't earned. I'm writing to say I finally see how I chipped away at you over the years, then blamed you for the cracks. Sorry. Not because I got caught, but because I broke something that didn't belong to me. Whatever happens now, I hope you do what makes you feel whole. Again. Sylvia, I didn't cry, but I sat with that letter for a long time. Had finally dropped the performance, and now I knew it had always been one I stayed with my parents through Thanksgiving. They offered no pressure, no timelines, just space. One afternoon, my mother passed me a folder across the kitchen table. Inside was a printed Zillow listing, a small craftsman bungalow, 2 bedrooms, sunlight across hardwood floors. It's not much, she said, but it's yours if you want it. Your grandmother left a little something. We've been holding on to it. And blinked. Why didn't you tell me before? She smiled. 'Cause you needed to choose freedom, not escape. Put in the offer the next day. Greg emailed me the same night. Thanks for standing up when the rest of us were too comfortable to see it. Jenna says she finally understands how much you were carrying. Do too. Hope your new place is peaceful. You deserve that. And from Jenna separately, if you ever want someone to bake with who won't judge your crust thickness, I'm your girl. Whoa. Word from Brendan, just silence. Until one morning a single message arrived. Are we really over? I didn't reply. Not because I was cruel, but because I'd already answered. Every time I let myself shrink for his family's comfort. Every time I swallowed a comment to keep peace. Every time I let his silence speak louder than mine. The new house smelled like fresh paint and pine. Planted basil in the windowsill. Started humming again while I cooked. Made pie with garlic in the crust just 'cause I liked it. I threw away Sylvia's checklist. I kept her letter, not as a keepsake, as a warning. 'Cause the next time someone calls me capable and hands me the weight of their world, I'll know the difference between flattery and setup, and I won't carry